right now, like tonight in hotel rooms all across the country, there are thousands of people experiencing these deeply intimate, private moments.
Oh, yeah.
And while this is happening, comedian Sal Vulcano's face is just playing on the television in the background.
It is so funny.
Right. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are jumping straight into the wild, sprawling, and honestly completely unfiltered world of comedians Theo and Sal Vulcano.
Yes, and we've got a lot of ground to cover.
We really do. We're going to sift through what sounds at first like just total comedic chaos, And our mission is to pull out the hidden, profound truths they kind of stumble into.
It really is a fascinating listen, because what makes their dynamic so compelling is just how wildly the pendulum swings back and forth.
Oh, well, completely.
Like 1 minute, you're listening to the absolute lowest brow, most absurd bodily humor imaginable. And then the very next minute, they're unpacking these crippling existential anxieties.
Right, about parenthood or time or just the fragility of human connection.
Exactly. It forces you to realize that our crudest jokes are usually just armor for our deepest fears.
So, okay, let's unpack that hotel room phenomenon first, because the dichotomy here between public and private intimacy is, well, it's staggering.
It really is.
So Sal is the star of that hidden camera show, Impractical Jokers, and Theo calls him this universal smile maker.
Which is a great way to put it.
Yeah. But Sal reveals that his show has effectively become the ultimate background noise for couples. He even asked the internet about it, and hundreds of thousands of people essentially confirmed that, yes, his face is the soundtrack to their sex lives.
Somebody actually sent him an amateur adult video where his show is just casually playing on a laptop screen right behind the action.
Which is just so bizarre. I mean, think about it. But when you look at the psychology of it, it actually makes a weird kind of sense.
How so?
Well, it's not visually intoxicating, right? It's not romantic music. It's just this ultimate non-threatening middle ground.
Oh, I see.
Spouses can agree to put it on because it demands zero emotional investment. They can just completely ignore him.
Right. I'd argue that's exactly why it works. His public life is defined by millions of people completely tuning him out during their most private moments.
Yeah.
But what makes this so poetic is the stark contrast to his own private life. While everyone else is ignoring his face, Sal is obsessively guarding a profoundly intimate moment that belongs to two complete strangers.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the Shankman wedding tape. This is the story that just completely derailed me.
It is wild.
So, back in 1995, Sal is wandering around a Salvation Army, right? And he spots this blank, handwritten VHS tape.
Just sitting there.
Yeah. And the label just says, Stu and Amy Shankman's wedding, November 25, 1985. And he happened to find it on the exact 10-year anniversary of that date.
Which is a total cosmic coincidence.
Unbelievable.
But he buys the tape for 50 cents, takes it home, and just proceeds to watch the entire Jewish wedding ceremony.
He gets so invested.
Deeply invested. There's a best man in a yarmulke who delivers this original rap speech, and Sal actually memorizes the rap. He recites it perfectly during his conversation with Theo.
Wait, okay, I have to stop you there. Because he memorized a stranger's wedding rap.
Word for word.
And he has kept this tape for 31 years. He even said he thought he saw Stu Shankman at a gas station like 5 years later and jumped in a car to chase the guy down.
He really wanted to talk to him.
But isn't that crossing the line from quirky into borderline hoarding? I mean, why on earth is he dedicating mental real estate to this?
It sounds unhinged on the surface, sure. But look at what that tape actually represents.
Okay.
We live in an era where you and I have thousands of photos and videos uploaded to the cloud, right? They are perfectly preserved, but they are totally intangible.
Right, you can't hold them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A magnetic VHS tape, on the other hand, is fragile. It degrades every single time you play it.
Oh, wow.
So by holding on to it, Sal is essentially acting as the guardian of a physical artifact of human connection.
Like a time capsule.
Yes. It's an anchor to a simpler time, when our most precious memories weren't just data points on a server, but lived on a vulnerable piece of plastic.
You know, that fragile, degrading magnetic tape is actually a perfect mirror for what they get into next, which is this terrifying realization that our own physical bodies are basically just degrading tapes too.
Oh, that is a great connection.
Because Sal brings up this recent, really intense physical exam he went through, and all that emotional intimacy we were just talking about vanishes, and it's replaced by pure physical vulnerability.
And this is where the conversation takes a hard left turn into the absurd.
Totally.
Because Sal is getting a massive medical workup, We're talking a DEXA scan to measure his exact bone density, a CT angiogram to look at the literal plumbing of his heart,
Right.
MRI scans, full blood panels. It's an incredibly invasive look under the hood. But the catch is, his primary care physician doing all of this is Dr. James Lowe, a childhood friend he has known since they were 13 years old.
I mean, think about the last time you went to the doctor, right? You probably put on a very stoic professional front. You act like an adult.
Yes, of course.
Now imagine your doctor is the guy who used to watch you eat paste in the 7th grade.
It changes the dynamic entirely.
That adult armor just completely shatters. Sal is sitting there utterly terrified that his buddy from middle school is going to have to hold his scrotum and ask him to cough to check for a hernia.
Right, and that intense awkwardness forces them to actually read the medical advice for testicular self-exams out loud.
Oh my God.
They are reading the literal guidelines, like looking for smooth bumps, checking if the texture feels like a ripe avocado, and noting the physiological reality that one testicle naturally hangs lower or is slightly larger.
And their brains just immediately short-circuit into the most ridiculous imagery possible. Like they start comparing male anatomy to kabangers.
The retro toy.
Yeah, that wildly dangerous 1980s toy where you'd violently smash two hard plastic balls together on a string.
So dangerous.
But then Theo goes on this tangent about the scrotum being a literal kangaroo pouch.
The sneakeroos concept.
Yes, sneakeroos. He starts musing about getting elective surgery to turn his anatomy into a fanny pack.
It's so absurd.
He's talking about hiding Zyn nicotine pouches in there or folding up his passport to sneak it through airport security. And that leads them to joke about getting mouth cancer in your nuts. I mean, it is just an avalanche of ridiculousness.
It is, but look at the mechanism at play here, you know. Why do they do this?
Right, what's the psychology?
Well, medical anxiety is paralyzing. The dread of finding a lump, what they jokingly call discovering a skittle down there, is the very real fear of a death sentence.
Oh, yeah.
So humor functions as the ultimate psychological shield.
It feels like men treat the human body like a sketchy, dark HVAC system in a damp basement.
That is a perfect analogy.
You know it's down there, you know it keeps the house running, but you are absolutely terrified to unscrew the panel and look inside. So instead of facing the terror of our own mortality, we make jokes about anatomical fanny packs.
Precisely.
Yeah.
By turning a cancer screening into a bizarre bit about gingivitis of the anatomy, they diffuse the tension.
They make it manageable.
Exactly. It takes the terrifying reality of our fleshy, fragile bodies and transforms it into something they can laugh at rather than cower from. Deflection is literally a survival skill.
Well, you know, if our physical bodies make us feel fragile, our emotional defenses are basically non-existent when it comes to our kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Sal has historically kept his family life completely secret. He didn't want his kids anywhere near the public eye, but he finally opens up about his 3.5-year-old daughter and his 16-month-old son. And the way these two guys talk about fatherhood, it's incredibly raw.
It really is. Theo actually observes that parental love is so massive, it effectively breaks human language.
Yeah.
Sal describes fatherhood as this constant sensation of his heart melting. He says, you're just walking around with a mop all day because your heart is continuously melting in your chest.
Walking around with a mop, that is just, wow.
The capacity for that kind of love is innate, but it's crushing.
What's fascinating, though, is the contrast between that crushing adult emotional load and how kids are actually taught to process feelings today. Because Sal mentions his toddler goes to occupational therapy, and they use these things called color zones.
Right, which is a brilliant psychological tool.
Can you explain how that actually works for a 3-year-old?
Yeah.
Because it sounds so advanced.
Of course. So the color zones method externalizes the emotion.
Okay.
Instead of a toddler internalizing a feeling and thinking, I am a sad person, they are taught to view their emotional state as a location they are temporarily visiting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so a 3-year-old now have the vocabulary to say, Dad, I'm in the blue zone right now, I'm feeling sad, and I need help getting back to the green zone. It gives them immense agency.
A 3-year-old is doing that. Meanwhile, you have Theo and Sal, these two highly successful adults who are completely unequipped to navigate their own emotional zones.
They really struggle with it.
Because Theo talks about being at the 5-spot bar, right?
Yeah.
And he desperately wants to dance to Motown music, but he's paralyzed by the social anxiety that someone might film him and ruin his illusion that he's actually a good dancer.
It's the perfect illustration of adult avoidance. We lack the tools that a 3-year-old is mastering.
And it gets worse. Theo shares this incredibly vivid, honestly kind of sad memory of being at Tabby's Blues Box in Baton Rouge.
Oh, the ham story.
The ham story. He's listening to this deeply sad blues music, and he actively wants to cry. But the bar has a ham station.
A ham station at a blues bar.
Yeah, so he's sitting there eating this locally trucked-in ham, trying to weep, and he realizes you physically cannot cry and chew at the same time. He calls it the fat boy's dilemma.
It sounds like a punchline, but think about the metaphor there.
Right.
Eating that ham while trying to cry is the ultimate manifestation of how adults handle vulnerability.
We stuff it down.
Literally and figuratively. We physically stuff our feelings down with distractions, whether it's ham or endlessly scrolling on our phones, because we refuse to just sit in the blue zone and feel the sadness.
Kids don't have that filter, but they do learn how to weaponize our vulnerabilities.
Oh, they are masters at it.
Because Sal tells this story about his daughter going through a massive sleep regression. Out of nowhere, she becomes terrified of Marv and Harry the burglars from the movie Home Alone.
Even though she had watched the movie 50 times without an issue.
Exactly. But suddenly, she's convinced Marv and Harry are coming up the stairs. But she uses this fear to test Sal's boundaries.
She knows exactly what she's doing.
She'll stand at the top of the stairs, knowing her dad is right below her, and completely play him. She cries out, "Dad, please, I need you, I miss you." She knows exactly how to trigger that melting heart feeling to get him to break his own parenting rules and come rescue her.
It's psychological warfare executed by a toddler.
It really is. But, hearing them talk about how overwhelming and all-consuming the love is for just one or two kids, it made me stop and think about a very specific reference Theo brings up.
Octomom.
Yes, Octomom. Nadia Suleiman, the woman who gave birth to 8 babies at the exact same time back in 2009.
I remember that.
They weighed between 1.5 and 3 pounds each. And I'm just thinking, if the love for one kid is this constant heart-melting feeling that breaks your language, does human psychology even have the bandwidth to process that emotion multiplied by 8 all at once? Or does the emotional fuse box just completely blow?
That is the core existential question regarding human capacity.
Really?
Yes. Psychologically, we know about concepts like Dunbar's number, the idea that our brains can only handle a certain number of meaningful relationships before the cognitive load becomes too heavy.
Okay, so there is a limit.
Absolutely. When we are faced with something that massive, whether it's the sudden responsibility of 8 fragile infants or just the sheer incomprehensible scale of the universe, the human mind struggles to compute it. It's too much data.
So what happens?
Well, which is exactly why, when the fuse box blows, our minds frequently default to existential distraction.
Which means we are zooming all the way out from the intimacy of a toddler's bedroom straight into the cosmos.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about time and space playing tricks on us, because when things get too heavy, our brains essentially glitch. Here is where it gets really interesting. Pablo Picasso.
Right. Arguably one of the most famous artists in human history.
So when you hear the name Picasso, your brain probably puts him in a box with Leonardo da Vinci or ancient historical figures.
For sure.
But Theo and Sal stumble onto this mind-bending historical reality. Pablo Picasso died in 1973.
It completely upends your internal timeline.
I couldn't wrap my head around it. They point out that Picasso was alive at a time when he could have theoretically been driving around in a Honda Civic, turning up the FM radio to listen to Black Sabbath.
It sounds made up.
Right. Ozzy Osbourne and Pablo Picasso were working on their art at the exact same time. Picasso could have ordered a bloomin' onion at an Outback steakhouse.
I want to explain exactly why that thought experiment feels so jarring.
Please do, because my brain is still broken.
Our brains naturally chunk history into distinct, rigid eras to save cognitive energy. We put Picasso in the distant, untouchable past box. We put Ozzy Osbourne in the modern pop culture box.
Right, totally separate files.
So when those two mental boxes forcefully collide, our brain experiences what we call chronological vertigo. We are trying to reconcile two completely different mental frameworks, and it literally makes us dizzy.
Well, we experience that exact same vertigo when we look up at the stars, because the conversation shifts from time to space, specifically the Artemis 2 space mission.
Right, NASA's current plan.
Yeah, to return humans to the moon and eventually use it as a stepping stone to inhabit Mars.
And Theo's immediate reaction to this is pure skepticism.
Oh, completely.
He looks at photos in the space shuttle and compares it to a fragile, rickety lifeguard tower on Santa Monica Beach. He jokes that it looks like a toy that doesn't even have horseshoes on it.
His skepticism isn't just about the engineering, though, is it?
No, not at all.
It's deeply rooted in generational trauma. Because they both vividly recall being children in 1986, sitting in their school classrooms, watching the Challenger disaster happen live on television,
Yes.
watching an ordinary citizen, teacher Krista McAuliffe, perish on live TV. It left a permanent scar on anyone who witnessed it.
It shattered the illusion of space travel as this clean, infallible progression of human destiny. It proved how fragile the whole endeavor really is.
But, setting the physical danger aside, I want to push back on the entire philosophy of space exploration as the pinnacle of human progress.
Okay, where are you going with this?
Because during this exact same conversation, Theo brings up a hilariously specific local news story from Pennsylvania. A Dunkin' Donuts burned down in the town of Shamokin because a teenager allegedly set a toilet paper dispenser on fire.
Oh my goodness.
And there's this local guy on the news named Dutch Smith mourning the loss of his daily cold coffee and his legal meeting spot.
It is the most intensely hyperlocal earthly problem imaginable.
Right. And it makes you wonder, if we can't figure out how to stop a teenager from burning down a Dunkin' Donuts in Pennsylvania, and if we still haven't figured out how to dance to Motown music in a bar without crippling social anxiety, isn't rocketing off to Mars just humanity's ultimate form of avoidance behavior?
That is a fascinating way to frame it.
Like, are we just running away from our incredibly complicated, messy earthly problems?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Space exploration, in this specific psychological context, acts as a cosmic escape hatch.
An escape hatch.
Yes. When the present moment feels too heavy, too complex, or too traumatic to fix, we look for a way out. Sometimes that means literally dreaming about inhabiting a barren rock millions of miles away because we feel like we are ruining the planet we actually live on.
It's the exact same impulse as nostalgia.
It is the identical psychological mechanism.
Wow.
It is what makes us want to retreat into a cozy television reboot, or ignore our spouses by putting on Impractical Jokers in a hotel room, or endlessly rewatch a stranger's 1985 wedding on a degrading VHS tape.
We just want somewhere safe.
Exactly. We're constantly seeking a haven where the rules are simpler and the anxieties of the present moment cannot reach us.
It is wild how everything connects. We start with lowbrow hotel room hookups, and we end up diagnosing the human desire to build a house on the moon just to run away from ourselves.
It's a journey.
But to bring this entire deep dive full circle, we have to talk about the frozen goldfish.
Ah, the frozen goldfish. The ultimate artifact of holding on.
So Sal tells this incredible story. He got a goldfish that his niece brought home from a school fair. Now, he didn't want to just put it in a tiny bowl and let it die.
Right. He had some guilt about
Yeah,
that.
when he was a kid, he accidentally killed a fish by blowing carbon dioxide into the water through a straw.
Oh, no.
So he wanted to do it right this time. He gets the massive tank set up, the filters, the whole 9 yards, and he genuinely bonds with this fish. It eats right out of his hand. They have a 7-year relationship.
Which, by the way, is an incredibly long life for a fairground goldfish.
It really is. But then, suddenly, the fish dies. There's some suspected foul play regarding the pH balance of the water, but regardless, his companion passes away.
And Sal simply cannot bear to flush his friend down the toilet.
He refuses. He can't bury it in the yard because it's the middle of the summer heat, and he doesn't want it to smell. So what does he do? He takes this dead goldfish, wraps it meticulously in tinfoil, and puts it in his kitchen freezer.
This is where it gets crazy.
And here's the kicker. That dead goldfish has been sitting in his freezer for over 15 years.
15 years.
He has moved to 3 entirely different houses over a decade and a half. And every single time he packs up the kitchen, he takes the frozen tinfoil-wrapped fish and moves it to the new freezer.
It is objectively absurd. It is hilarious. But underneath the joke, it is profoundly, deeply human.
How so?
Think about everything we've discussed today. Whether it is a frozen goldfish from a decade and a half ago, a complete stranger's wedding wrap from 1985,
Right.
the overwhelming, indescribable love for a child that makes your heart melt into a puddle, or the multi-billion-dollar urge to build a stepping stone on the moon.
It all stems from the same place.
Yes, human beings are fundamentally creatures desperately trying to hold on to meaning. We crave connection, and we crave preservation in a universe that is constantly, relentlessly pushing toward chaos and decay.
We just want to know that something somewhere lasts,
Yeah.
even if it's wrapped in tinfoil. Which leaves us with the question for you to mull over as you go about the rest of your day. We all have things we refuse to let go of because of what they represent to us. So take a look around your own life. Look inside your own mental freezer. What is your frozen goldfish? And more importantly, what is it going to take for you to finally let it thaw?